Guys with extremely loud vehicles. Why do you do this to everyone? Story 1. The real answer is that there are three possibilities. It'll give you why real car guys do it first, and then the other two. Why real car guys do it. A quiet exhaust is a restrictive exhaust. Car guys are on a never-ending quest for more power, and a cheap way to make power is with a less restrictive exhaust, especially on turbocharged vehicles like I own. Actually, the loudness of the exhaust is just a byproduct of decreasing restriction and not always the intention. Why other car people do it? Because they like the sound, and it's their vehicle, and they get enjoyment out of listening to the engine roar. Why the last group does it? Because they can't afford to or don't care to fix their old broken exhaust. Story 2. I used to own an insanely loud vehicle. A Pontiac G8. It had a 6-liter V8 and essentially straight pipes. Ripping it through a tunnel truly is a fun experience. That said, I never truly understood how loud it was for everyone else until I sold it. They drove down the road in a normal fashion. I realized it was obnoxiously loud, and I thought to myself, Jesus, I'm such an asshat. Story 3. As someone who had a loud vehicle, it wasn't for you or women or anyone. I just loved the way my car sounded. And it came like that from the factory, so not like I made it louder after the fact. Not compensating for anything, just a huge car guy and its music to me. It had valves to quiet it down too, so I would shut them in neighborhoods or passing by people dogs walking so I don't scare-wake anyone. Story 4. I was getting coffee at a gas station last week, 6:00 a.m. Biker outside proceeds to rev his engine very loudly for a good 30 secs, for no reason at all. Next door is a hotel. I'm sure they were all thinking how cool he was getting woken up at 6 a.m. Story 5. I've found in my experience that people with loud vehicles, and it goes no deeper than that. They just like it and don't really care that others don't. Story 6. There are only two possibilities: they want attention, and even negative attention works for them, or they don't care about anyone that isn't themselves. Both are childish mindsets. Story 7. I used to be like this. It was always around having fun with my friends and being dumb and thinking loud meant fast. I am no longer like this. I'm sorry, everyone. Story 8. I have a C6 Corvette. When I had a harmonic balancer failure, it was recommended to do an engine refresh, aftermarket camshaft, and headwork. Shop stated that headers and an X-pipe would be needed to support the new parts power. Car has catalytic converters and mufflers. Is still just loud, nature of performance. An ICE is an air pump. The more air being pumped, the louder it is. I'm not a with it, and I don't drive it early in the morning or late at night. Man, do I love my car, though. Story 9. Louder exhausts are generally less restrictive, therefore more power faster, but that's for track purposes. Loud street cars mostly for the sound. They aren't doing it for other people, just themselves usually. Story 10. I want to upvote, but it's not just guys. But I totally agree otherwise when it's like 11 p.m. and some selfish yokes by with their loud lawnmower tailpipe thinking they're hot, not thinking about all the people trying to sleep. I don't have much room for anything but resentment toward that person. Story 11. Wow, the answers are crazy. As an owner of a loud-esque vehicle, I agree some people just want attention, but for a lot of us car enthusiasts, it's because we want to hear the responsiveness of the car. I can hear what gear it is in. I can hear when it shifts or downshifts. Also, it makes the driver feel more engaged with the road. If I didn't want that car feedback, I would have purchased a luxury electric vehicle for the price I've put into my car. Story 12. I'm an ex-loud vehicle owner. Had a motorcycle in college with a loud thump, and I had a custom-built exhaust installed to make it way louder. I used to think it was a cool thing to do. You know, be a rebel and all that. It's only much later that I realized just how much of an inconsiderate I was, and that I was just doing that to be the center of attention. I'm sure I got the attention too, but not the kind I thought I was getting. Loud vehicles. They're not cool. A mixture of ultra-entitled, narcissistic people who simply have no concern how their actions affect other people, and actual sadists. Story 13. I have owned a few loud vehicles. The answer for all except one is this. I live in the Midwest and the exhaust rusted in half. I repaired it as soon as I could afford a new one. The reason for the one exception? It is only loud if I drive it hard. I drive easy in the neighborhood and it sounds normal and quiet. It is only loud on the track highway. Story 14. Literally no legitimate car hobbyist does this to impress anyone. It's not to look cool or to compensate for a small, or because we think it makes women swoon. We know it does none of that. There are a minority of douchebags that buy shouty vehicles and put loud exhausts on them to be even shoutier. These are your 20, 35-ish-year-old dudes that have been spoiled their whole life and their dad bought them a bright yellow automatic BMW M4, and they have their Instagram handle on the back window. Those are just clout chasers. They are the minority, but they are the most obnoxious. Another group are the broke bois, who go on eBay and buy the cheapest thing that makes noise. For the rest of us with taste, we like the sound, we like the feeling, the fizz, the emotion from the car. We like to feel our seat vibrate on a spirited drive through some canyon roads. We like the feedback it gives you on top of the stock setting. We like hearing the engineering marvel under the hood of our special-to-us car in even greater detail. We like the experience of driving, and it enhances the experience for us. If you do it correctly, you can putter around your commute, your neighborhood, your downtown without making much more noise than stock, if at all. Many nicer exhausts have valves that open and close depending on the setting, or the demand from your foot. Nicer exhausts also work to enhance the sound, not overpower you with more noise just to make more noise. You probably don't even notice us because we aren't trying to draw attention to ourselves in a populated area. Story 15. If you pay for a V8, it's not a far-fetched idea to want it to sound like a V8. I'm not personally into super loud vehicles, but I do like a low rumble. Straight pipes are lame. Expensive, performant exhaust systems are great. Even better if it's an active exhaust system. You won't wake the neighbors up when you leave in the morning, and you're still able to let it roar if you take it to a track or some kind of meet. Story 16. Everyone hates it other than some motorheads. Cars will get some improved performance out of it. Basically, engines are explosions. They're loud. Mufflers make them quiet. Suppressing the sound puts resistance on the airflow going out. That creates resistance and reduces the power of the engine by a few horses. Not sure exactly how many, but I think usually maybe like 10 or 15 HP, which is a noticeable amount on a small car. A small car like a Civic might be 130 HP, so a 10 increase is pretty good. It's an easy modification and attracts attention to make people look over and see you're either modified or sports car, supercar, whatever. The higher-end cars usually have a sports mode, which allows the engine to be loud, but in other modes it's more quiet, for inner-city driving. For those cars, when they are loud, it's because the driver wants attention. Story 17. There is a good loud and bad loud to me as a car guy. Ricer can or straight-piped lifted truck is bad loud. GT350, Corvette, or Ferrari letting loose is a symphony. Story 18. For those who do it by choice, research points to mental illness. Story 19. These people are the worst. Guy in my otherwise very quiet neighborhood outside of town rides a Harley, with the stereo turned up loud enough so he can hear it over the pipes. At 445 every morning, MF. Story 20. The majority of them do it for attention. The minority do it for performance reasons. Even if you want performance, you don't have to go incredibly loud. And they also make valved mufflers to quiet the car down when driving through residential areas. It's also heavily influenced by marketing in certain car circles like Subarus, BMWs, Fords, etc. Story 21. Also, why do some do it to like Honda Acuras or Toyota Camrys, etc.? The car is crappy, man. Like, the giant sound doesn't make it look any cooler, just lets everyone know that they have a lot to compensate for. Story 22. I especially hate this because my wife has severe spinal instability and I have to drive her to appointments all the time. I drive so ridiculously carefully so she isn't jostled around. One of these dickless fuckweasels blazing past us will startle her, and she might flinch away from the sudden sound. It can her neck up for days, causing extreme pain that can't get fixed until the next time her osteopath can fit her in. All of these guys and whomever invented the Dodge Charger. 3 reasons. 1. Their catalytic converter was stolen. 2. They want attention. 3. They want a loud sound to accompany the huge black smoke cloud when they roll coal, as it's like watching a sound and light show to them. Story 23. Not me, but my neighbor is an Imperial Starfighter pilot and flies one of those God TIE fighters. Every morning without fail, that thing kicks on and sounds like the opening scream to real monsters roaring down the fucking street. And of course, we can't say anything about it. Story 24. When I was young, I thought it sounded cool. Now, as an older, I understand it sounds like and annoys everyone, especially the fuckers that go to work at 4 a.m. in those tin cans. Seriously, you. However, my special award goes to the guys that start their loud cars and leave them for 10-15 to warm up. I really hope they crash. That is the worst. I haven't even mentioned the cars that go pop, pop, pop. No, sorry, the burbles and pops aren't cool anymore. It was when no one's car did it, but now it's outplayed, and annoying too. Honestly, the only engine sounds I like nowadays are cars that come with that deep engine stock. V8 112s. No mods. They sound great, especially when you're not trying to deafen your neighbors like all the motocross bikers that ride around at 3 a.m. Fuck! Story 25. I had a 911 turbo for a while back in the day. I put less restrictive exhaust on it to make it faster. It had a side effect of making it louder. I would drive it for me, I'm sorry, if I had an impact on your life. Story 26. I have a loud car, and I think the consensus is way off. Despite all of these other comments, I do not believe that I am a horrible person who lacks emotional maturity and situational awareness. Believe it or not, my loud vehicle has actually nothing to do with you or anybody else. I simply think loud vehicles are fun. I've always enjoyed loud stuff, and I do it because I enjoy the sound of it. I do actively try to be considerate with the fact that my stuff is loud. I don't rev it at ungodly hours to wake people up, and I don't rev at girls walking down the street. I know not every loud vehicle driver is like me in that regard, and a lot of them are jackasses about it, which is the primary reason I don't really interact with a lot of other people in those communities. But for me personally, TLDR, I do it because it's fun, and I enjoy it, not to annoy other people. Story 27. The correct car enthusiast option would be so that the engine can breathe better and exhaust gases can escape quicker. Or on super fast cars, sometimes the exhaust comes pretty much straight off the headers to save weight amongst other reasons. However, 99 of loud cars on the road don't really fit the bill for needing loud exhausts. Story 28. I remember being in high school and it was cool. Why, I don't know. My theory is they think people turning their heads to look at them is always positive. Story 29. I have a 2007 Harley Sportster 1200 XL with screaming eagle pipes. I ride it not because I'm a Harley fan, am vehemently against the company's politics, and would never buy one new, but because it was my dad's. He grew up dirt poor and always dreamed of owning one. He was finally successful enough to buy one, and it was his one and only toy. He got too sick to ride it, and it's the only thing I really have left of his. Edit. I also try to make sure I never start it up early in the morning, late at night, because it's loud. The neighborhood kids think it's really cool, though. It's what happens when a very immature child gets old enough to have a license without ever having matured past 4th grade. Story 30. I've asked this question genuinely to someone who has a loud motorcycle. His answer was it turns head every time he revs the engine, so basically for attention. It's such a dumb reason. Story 31. Why do I do what? You didn't finish the question. My car was loud because that is the byproduct of a better flowing exhaust and intake. That, combined with some camshafts and other internal work, and yeah, it's going to sound louder than the cars that are built more for emissions and pollution. But I don't drive around like on public roads. I try to stay as quiet as possible and save it for track days. On public roads, I tried to be as quiet as possible to not disturb others. Good news is newer exhaust systems have moving parts to block out sound when you want to and open up the exhaust only when in performance mode or such. I can't afford those cars. Story 32. I'm actually more interested in why some men think that making their car sound like it's farting is cool. Since high school, I've never been able to figure it out. It's like that kid you used to ride bikes with that would always make that obnoxious engine revving sound every time he pedaled. Nobody liked that kid, and nobody likes the guy with the exhaust. If the goal was to make your car sound like what I think you as a person look like, then good job, Mr. Diarrhea Pants. Job completed successfully. They won't be on Reddit, I can tell you that. It's so nice it's 11 p.m. at night, it's quite AF. Then, vroo. Echoing through the fucking street. Story 33. My 4-year-old and I were playing loudly in the state park. I was asked to be quieter, form a female biker, because they were having a memorial for fallen riders. Took every ounce of my inner strength not to respond with a shout of, Loud pipes saves lives. Live with the environment you created. Story 34. Desperation and loneliness, it seems. They're typically gaping anuses who drive everyone away by being massive douche nozzles, so they drive around making as much noise as they can whenever they can, so someone will notice they exist. It's kind of sad if you think about it. Story 35. Because why not? I enjoy the sound of a healthy small block revving to 7K. Slight adrenaline rush. The sound adds to the excitement. But you assume all of us drive through neighborhoods and do that stupid backfire stuff. There is a lot of car enthusiasts in the world. Not everyone enjoys silence when you spend an 18th of your life in your car. Story 36. You can do what you want on your own, but if I ever catch one of those a-holes that tune their car to backfire constantly, yeah. Nothing like going to sleep at 10 p.m. and July 4th explosions crack your ears. You owners keep saying, I do it for me, not against you. Bullshit. Be fucking courteous and kind. Think about others for once in your life. This world is not here for you and only you. Story 37. Some guys think that it's a part of having a fast car, which is not a perfect correlation. Others are subconsciously saying, look at me. Not too different dressing for attention, while others might actually have the mindset of, I want to annoy you. Story 38. I bought a 92 Mazda Miata, which the previous owner upgraded the muffler to be this loud soda can that screamed its presence 2 blocks away. The only benefit was when I was delivering pizza, people knew I was there and would be waiting for me at the door. That's it. I was called an idiot far more times than I care to admit, despite the fact I couldn't afford to replace it with a normal muffler. Story 39. I've put an exhaust on nearly every car I've owned, simply because I like the sound of it. I don't make them super loud, and I don't bounce it off the rev limiter like some people do, but I can see the desire to actually hear your engine if you're an enthusiast. All that said, I think the eardrum-shattering straight pipe is obnoxious. Those people are psychopaths who are only doing it to annoy other people or actually inflict damage on their ears. There's a fine line between that car sounds amazing and that dude, his is way too loud. Most cities have laws on the max decibel level of an exhaust for good reason. Now, whether they enforce it or not is a different story. Story 40. My Harley-Davidson is straight-piped no muffler very loud, and I hate it. I can't ride it without ear protection for more than 10 minutes. However, it is the only way my engine is able to breathe with the current performance parts that are installed on it. I am looking for a solution but have yet to find one. Sorry in advance. Story 41. They are broke and have no social or political capital. So their way of reminding the world they exist is to make vroom vroom noises from their car hole. Story 42. My motorcycle came with the loudest fucking exhaust on the planet. You bet I went out of my way to put the original OEM exhaust system right back on. Story 43. The most interesting reason I've heard was specifically for motorcycles. The loud noise causes vibrations that other drivers will feel, so if you're jamming out, you know there's a motorcycle next to you, even if you can't see it or hear it. I guess I can see that. But there's still nothing more annoying to me than a loud motorcycle that rides past a restaurant with people eating outside on patio tables. Literally everyone stops talking and just waits for them to leave, all visibly annoyed. Story 44. I have a muscle car but also a truck, and I don't start the muscle in the morning unless I absolutely have to. I just love the car, dude, and yeah, it sounds sick. My car isn't insane and it sounds good. Though, some of those ricers they make with insane-sounding exhaust are annoying F. Story 45. Because they are idiots. How it affects others is irrelevant to them, same demographic of person who has truck nuts. Honestly, if I could snap my fingers and exit all of these type of people, I would do it. Story 46. I wish this would be taken seriously by law enforcement. Pull these kids over and keep ticketing them. Non-payment? Boot vehicle. Make them go through to get car back. And have these noisemakers removed. Find shops that install these noisemakers. Story 47. One of these creatures lives in my neighborhood and leaves for work every morning at 04:30. Yodave! And he has to rev it up Asa he pulls away from the stop sign to prove what, exactly? Story 48. These hats are so annoying. 11 p.m., I'm in bed, dosing off then, some in his Ferrari, decided to hit 6,000 revs on my residential street. Some areas of my city have noise cameras to catch ABD find these people, but none where I live, and even if there were, these people are so rich they wouldn't care. Story 49. Was with my buddy's friend who had a loud truck. He drove by a girl walking on the street and revved the truck up as he went by, making that dumb as exhaust noise. She did not look, and he literally said, "Girls used to always look at that." He is a little older also, so it's purely to satisfy their insecure egos. Story 50. I love a loud car. I modify my cars up to 300-400 HP. They are loud and powerful. It's hard to find a truly quiet exhaust. But again, I like to hear me cars roar. Story 51. I have a loud car, few things. It's not my daily. I try to keep it quiet around others. It's mostly used for autox and tracking, but I love the sound. Also small PPLOL. Story 52. Depends on the vehicle. If it's just a box that some kid is modding, it's for attention. If it's a supercar with some upgrades and tuning, well, it's just a super powerful car that would be fairly hard to muzzle. The guys that put throaty exhaust on their trucks just want attention. I own a truck for work, I'm a tradesman, and I try and keep it as quiet as I can as I leave at 4 or 5 a.m. and don't want to wake my neighbors. Story 53. I used to have a rather loud exhaust on my Jeep Cherokee. It was reasonably fun for a while. Though in hindsight, I realized I'd want something slightly less aggressive in the future after driving it on the highway for extended periods of time. But short answer, they're fun. Sound nice, can potentially help produce more power. That said, there's a good way to execute it and a bad way, and I hear a lot more bad ones than good ones, either too loud or just poor pairings of exhaust and engine. Story 54. My car is loud, but not extremely loud. It's not cammed, I don't have headers, I still have my cats. It just sounds good. It's a Mustang GT in case you care. To us car guys, there's a huge difference between cars that sound good and cars that don't. What annoys me personally is cars like Honda Civics with a can exhaust. There's no tonal quality there, it just produces noise. Those exhausts don't make those cars sound better than stock. Cars like Mustangs, Camaros, BMWs, Porsches, Ferraris, Lambos, etc. actually have performance engines that sound better with a quality exhaust system. These produce quality sound. I get tons of compliments on how it sounds from a variety of people, but I didn't do it for compliments, it was just to improve the car. You can't please everyone. Some like it, some don't. Just like when the exhaust was stock, some would like it, some don't. Story 55. I'll probably be downvoted for actually responding, but here we go. I put a custom system on my V8, but had it baffled. It's quiet when putting around town and at highway speeds, but I get a really nice note that sounds amazing to me when I open it up a bit. I like to think mine is a good compromise, and I've never had any complaints about it.